Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pam Scott, Director of Client Services with Oasis Solutions, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar and presentation on Sage 100 Payroll W-2 processing information, and we will talk about creating historical companies at the end of the year. During the presentation, everyone's line is muted. However, you do have the ability to ask questions where you can submit questions in the little question box through the GoToWebinar, and I will address as many of those questions as I can during the presentation. If there's any that I need to follow up on, I will personally email you following the presentation today. So I do want to thank everyone for joining us, and we will get started. Okay, this entire presentation is not going to be a PowerPoint. I do want to cover some information in the beginning, and then we will actually then be going into Sage and be doing the demonstration on how to create the historical company and copy over the year-end data. So I wanted to briefly touch on what's required to process W-2s from Sage 100 or Sage 100 Cloud, which is also known as Sage 100C. You must be on a supported version of Sage software, and the current versions that are supported are the 2016, which is 5.3, 2017, which is 5.4, and 2018, which is 6.0. Those are the currently supported versions of Sage software. As for those of you that have used Payroll for several years, you know that Sage, if there's any changes that are required to the W-2 form, new information that needs to be tracked, anything related to basically 1099s or W-2s, Sage issues an interim release download that clients can install. And we've been informed that that download will not be available until about 12/19. So at this time, we don't know what's in the download, nor do we know if it is required. Our stance has been if the change does not affect you personally, then we typically do not install that download just because everyone is so busy and trying to get through everything at year end. But it's certainly up to you if you decide that you want us to install that for you, even if it's not required. So additionally, in processing W-2s, they are generated or printed through Atrix, which is a third-party product that is kind of built into your Sage. And you're probably already using that for your quarterlies and so forth, and to get new hire forms and things of that nature. So you do need to make sure that whoever is going to be doing the Atrix, whether it's printing, e-filing, or reporting, that they have Atrix loaded on their workstation with the sufficient permissions that will allow the download and the installation of Atrix updates. In order to have access to Atrix, you do have to be current on your Sage subscription plan or your business care plan. If you are using Sage and you're not current on that plan, you do not, if you go to try to access Atrix, it will recognize that you're not current and it will not allow you to access that particular functionality. So if you feel like your care plan has lapsed or you have any questions about that, let us know and we can certainly check into it for you. The workstation that will be using Atrix must have an active internet connection in order to do the processing. And the one thing, in talking with clients about the year-end appointments, about half of the folks seem to be unaware of this change, but there's a huge change related to e-filing in the state of Kentucky. So the information from the Kentucky website is saying that they are lowering the requirements for e-filing from 100 W-2s down to 26. So if you are going to be processing more than 26 W-2s for 2018, then you are going to be required to e-file this year. The federal requirement, to the best of my knowledge, is still the same, but Kentucky has made a change. If you have employees in other states, you will need to check their individual requirements to see if those have changed. I believe Indiana is 25. Any more than 25 requires e-filing, and I'm not sure about any of the other surrounding states, but you certainly can check with your applicable state government or your CPA and make that determination. So, so if you have more than 26 W-2s, you're going to have to e-file. We talked this morning in the AP webinar that also that affects 1099s. So if you do 1099s and you were not on the webinar this morning, it also is applicable to 1099s. As the same as for the past couple of years, the deadline for reporting to the Department of Revenue is January 31st, and they are saying that no extensions will be granted. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Also for Kentucky, if you have less than 26, you still are going to have to complete a new form, which is called a K-5 form. As of a couple of days ago, that K-5 form is not available yet, and the state is saying that it should be available on or before January 1st of 2019. So we will be keeping an eye out for that form. It is our assumption that once that form has been made available, that then Atrix will roll that form into the various offerings that they have within their system, but also you can go to ky.gov and obtain that form as well. So if you have any questions about this, again, you might refer to ky.gov or also talk with your accounting professional. So with that, everyone that is a current client of Oasis should have received at least 2 emails over the past couple of weeks letting you know about that it's time to start scheduling your appointment for year-end assistance. As in prior years, we do pre-schedule appointments for assistance, and we do have staff that are dedicated solely to helping with year-end during the month of January. So getting your appointment, getting the information to us and your appointment scheduled will secure you a slot sooner rather than later, and we do schedule those appointments on a first-come, first-served basis. So in the past, if you have not been required to e-file and you're pretty comfortable with the, printing the W-2s, if you're going to need assistance with e-filing in Kentucky this year, you do want to get that information filled out and submitted to our tech support email so that we can get an appointment scheduled for you. So if anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to go ahead and submit those, and I will be glad to address those. Okay, so for those of you that it may be your first year in doing payroll year-end, why do we recommend creating a historical company at the end of the year? Well, as you know, in all versions of Sage prior to 2018, you are required to close the quarter before you can process payroll in the next quarter. So before you can process a payroll in 2019, you have to close the fourth quarter of 2018. But when you close that quarter, you're basically purging out that W-2 information, and it resets it to 0 for 2019. So what we do is that what we're going to look at today on how to do this, I'm going to walk you through it, or many people still have us do it just to make sure that they don't run into any issues because they don't want to get ready to process W-2s and determine that they don't have information, is that you need to create that historical company after your last payroll of 2018 and before you close the year. It's imperative that you do it before you close the year. If you accidentally close it, then we're going to have a big problem and try to figure out what you're going to have to do to rekey information to get it back into your system. Also, many clients refer to have those historical companies to refer back to, especially if they're needing to reprint W-2s or 1099s or do a correction or something of that nature. Now, I said that that you have to close that quarter if you're on a version prior to 2018. We do have a few clients, payroll clients, that have upgraded to the 2018 version. Technically, because of how the history is stored, you are not supposed to be required to create that historical company. But in our opinion, because there are continued quirks with the new payroll module, we recommend that this very first year that you go ahead and create that historical company and copy the data over. It's better to be safe than sorry, and creating that company and copying the data literally takes just a few minutes, so it's not like it's a 2 or 3 hour project to get that completed. So again, it's up to you, but that is certainly our standpoint and our recommendation. So again, if you have any questions about that, please feel free to let me know. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move over to Sage, and I'm going to walk you through creating a historical company and in the process that you have to go through. So the first thing you want to do is you want to just make sure that you're in your live company, and if you have 3 separate entities that you process payroll in, then you're going to want to create 3 historical companies and copy the data over individually for each one of those. Most of you that have been doing this for a while, you have a naming convention that you use. If you just have one company, then what we recommend is using something like Y18, so that you know that's for year 18. And then next year we would have you create one called Y19. So it's easy then to determine which is the historical company. If you have multiple companies, what a lot of people do is take that first letter of that company name and then put the year behind it. So for instance, if I have a company called ABC Distribution, I might name my company A17. And then if I have Edwards Manufacturing as another company, I would call that E17. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go into the Library Master module. You want to go into Main, and you want to go into Company Maintenance. And this is where you're going to create the new company. So the company I'm going to create today is for the year 2018, so I'm going to call it Y18. And I want to put in my company name because I'm going to be printing my W-2s from this Y18 company. So you want to make sure that you have the proper company name in. You want to fill out the address information because this prints on the W-2s. You want to make sure that you're including your federal ID number, your state ID numbers, because again, all of those print on your W-2 form. So fill out your address. If you have a trade name that you need to fill out, and so forth. So you're going to complete this information, and then you're going to go up to the top right and click Activate. And it's going to come up and say the company record has to be saved before activating it. Do you want to save it now? And I'm going to say yes. So basically now it's saying what modules do you want to activate? If you are only wanting to copy over payroll information, there are 3 areas that you must create in order for this to work properly. You have to do common information, you have to do general ledger, and then you would do payroll. You certainly can copy everything over. keep in mind that that will take extra time for it to copy all of that data. And it's also probably best to do this when no one is working in the system and not in the process of updating transactions. So again, the three that are required or it will not work is that you have to have common information, general ledger, and payroll selected, and then you can select anything else that you choose. If you want to do everything, you can use save time by clicking the select all button, or if I click that by mistake and I want to unselect everything, I can click the unselect global button and then just go back in and make the appropriate changes. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to proceed, and what this is going to do is it is going to activate those modules and create them within this company of Y18. So that's step number one. Step number two is actually copying the data. So over here on the right, you have a button that says copy. So what I want to do now is I want to click my copy button, and you get kind of a little warning. So I'm going to click OK. And now here is a very important piece that you want to pay attention to and to make sure that you're doing it properly. It's going to ask you for the source company. The source company is where you're copying from. So I'm going to copy from my ABC company, and my destination where I'm copying to is the Y18. If you get this mixed up, you're going to copy blank information over your live company. So you certainly don't want to do that. Also, if you are like me and you're extra cautious, you may also want to make sure that you have a good backup before you start this process, just in case something happens. So when I make my selection, you'll notice that it added all of the data. It also will, if there's modules with applicable forms, you can say whether or not you want to copy the forms. So it selects everything. So I'm going to unselect it and just copy what I want to copy. So again, I have to copy common information in general ledger regardless. Even if I was just going to copy sales order, it requires you to do common information in general ledger, and then I'm going to do the payroll module. So I've selected the modules that are activated that I want to copy. I'm going to go back up and double check and make sure that I'm copying from ABC to the Y18 company. Make sure my data selections are correct, and I am going to click proceed. It's going to ask me again, are you sure this is what you want to do? I'm going to say yes to that question. Now, I have very little data, so it only took a couple of seconds. It may take a few minutes for yours to copy. So at this point, I should be able to go into and change companies. And bear with my Sage, it's a little slow on my workstation. So I'm going to see my Y18 company there. And I should be able to go into that Y18 company, go into payroll, and go in and be able to see my employees. You want to go in and pull up those employees. You want to look at maybe their checks for the year. Now my demo data is in 2020, but you should see 2018 for the checks. You can go through and look at their earnings information. I would suggest looking at their deductions. The main thing that you want to do is, number one, make sure the information copied over properly, and that you're looking at a couple of different things just so that no error messages pop up. Because you want to make sure that your data is correct before you close. Before I close my ABC company for the year, I want to make sure that my historical company is set up. The data is there. I'm confident that it's good. What I would also recommend doing is maybe printing some quarterly reports. print the quarterly report in the ABC company and then turn around and print the same report in the Y18. Make sure everything matches up and that you don't have any discrepancies or error messages. If there is a problem, you can always recopy the information. If you have major concerns and you're just not sure what happened, you can certainly call our support team, and we will be glad to connect to you and take a look and try to figure out what's going on. But that really is as simple. It's a very simple process. The key thing is you must remember to do it at the proper time before you close the year, and please double check your data and make sure that it has copied over properly. So once you have done that, then I can go back into my ABC company. I can close the fourth quarter of 2018, and then I can start processing my payroll for 2019, and then when you're ready to do your W-2s, you will do it out of the Y18 company. So does anybody have any questions about that process or any concerns that they have about that process? If you do, please just submit them, and I will be glad to address those questions. So for all intents and purposes, that is one of the main things that you need to do. As far as using Atrix, let me go back to my PowerPoint presentation, and we will give you some additional information and then talk just a little bit further about year-end in the payroll module. So just a couple of questions that we get a lot on the support line is, do I have to copy all of my module information? And again, no, you do not, but you do have to do the GL and the common information or it will not work. And also, if you don't create the historical company and you close it, and then you need to reprint information, you're not going to be able to reprint that. So if you needed to do a payroll check history report or reprint a quarterly report for the fourth quarter, if you've closed out, you will not be able to go back and get that information. We do want to note that when you're using Atrix, it is possible to go back and reprint your W-2s without having that historical company. Again, that is not our recommendation. We feel like everyone should have that. We want to talk a little bit about the forms that are required. So most of you, if you've processed an Atrix before, you know that the only form that is supported with Atrix is the blank perforated 4-up packet. And so Atrix does not use the pre-printed forms. So if you've already ordered those, you need to return them and get the blank perforated forms. As far as where you can order those forms from, you probably will have already received emails directly from Sage Software saying that you can order the forms through them, which is perfectly fine, or you can order them from any office supply company or printing company. So it does not, you do not have to order them from Sage in order for them to work. You just need to make sure you have the proper form. And the other thing that I would like to note is, excuse me, using Atrix to print your W-2s is available to you at no charge. If you are required to e-file, state or federal, there is a charge for that. And if you are interested in sending you the website of where you can go out online to get their pricing, I will be more than glad to send that to you. You can choose to pay Atrix to do everything, which means, you know, you send the information through Sage to Atrix for your W-2s, but then you actually have them print the W-2s, mail them to your employees, mail the appropriate copies to the state, federal, wherever they need to go, and take care of all of that for you on a, you can either do pay on a W-2 by W-2 basis, or they also, if you have a lot of employees, they will have a bundle and give you a better rate to do that. So more and more of our clients are choosing to have Atrix do everything because they find in the long run, by the time they purchase the forms, they purchase the envelopes, the postage required, and just the labor of stuffing all of those and getting them out to everyone, that it is really more cost effective and much more efficient to have Atrix do it. But again, that is your choice. If you want the control over that to print them yourself, you certainly can do that. I will tell you that any of the clients that I have spoken with that have used Atrix, they've been very pleased with their service, with the efficiency of it, and don't have any intentions of ever processing them themselves again. But again, it's up to you, and it's your choice on how you want to process that. So the other thing that I want to mention to you is if you are required to do ACA reporting. If you're not sure, you need to check with your insurance provider or possibly your accountant or your benefits provider and find out if you are subject to filing and reporting for ACA for 2018. We do not have webinars on ACA processing and how to use it, but we do have webinars, recorded webinars on our website. These webinars are from 2015, but the information is still applicable. Excuse me one second. Thank you. So what you can go to our website, which is oasisky.com, and go to the Learn section and look for videos under Sage. And we have 5 separate videos related to ACA. They're shorter videos, but they will walk you through each of these steps. So you do have the ability to do that. We do not have step-by-step training on using Atrix on our website. Again, that is something that our support team can provide to you. So if you are going to need assistance with either creating the historical company and copying the data over, helping you get your data ready to print your W-2s, help with e-filing, help with ACA. We have staff available to help with that, starting the week after Christmas all the way through the end of January. But again, it is on a by appointment only basis. So if you have not received an email from us, if you will send me an email at pam@oasisky.com, I will forward you the email and the information that we need in order to schedule the appointment. If you have placed your request for year-end assistance either yesterday or today, you should receive a call from me either later today or by end of day tomorrow to get those appointments scheduled. So if you previously submitted it within the past week or two, and you have not heard from me, please shoot me an email, but you should have either received a call and been scheduled, or we have called and left a message. If you feel like we've missed you, or maybe you want to double check and see if we've received the information, just let us know. So that pretty much concludes the information for today. Again, I'm going to leave it open for a couple of minutes if anyone has any questions that they want to submit. If you have other team members that you feel would benefit from this information, we will be having another webinar covering the same information next Wednesday on the 12th. The payroll webinar will be at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, And then we will also have a repeating accounts payable 1099 webinar at 2 p.m. Eastern Time next Wednesday. So I will just double check and see if there are any questions, which I'm not seeing any questions at all. So if you think of anything after the fact, let us know. And if you have forgotten to request an appointment, please get that request into us as soon as possible so that we can meet your timeline. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, and just let us know how we can help. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.